Chevrolet can give you a reliable workhorse or a wallet-eating nightmare, and the badge will not tell you which one. The engine and year do. Today we are calling out 4 Chevy models to avoid and 4 that are smart buys. Number 1 is the Silverado problem that makes owners sick. Number 8, Chevrolet Malibu 2.0 Turbo 2013 to 2015 to avoid. Sleek sedan paint can hide costly turbo math, and this Malibu is where cheap transportation starts acting expensive. We are talking about the 2013 to 2015 Malibu with the 2.0-liter turbo, especially high-mile cars with thin records. On paper, the setup looks tempting. You get a turbocharged 4-cylinder, a 6-speed automatic, around 259 horsepower, and about 295 pound-feet of torque. That sounds strong for a mid-size sedan. The problem is what happens after years of heat, boost, old oil, cooling stress, and owners who treated it like a regular, slow commuter. Turbo hardware does not age like a simple old pushrod engine. Boost leaks, wastegate issues, oil feed problems, cooling leaks, sensor faults, and direct injection headaches can stack up fast. In the shop, the scary part is not one single failure. It is how quickly a cheap Malibu can become a car where the repair quote starts chasing the resale value. Used prices may sit around $6,000 to $11,000, depending on mileage and trim. But that does not mean the risk is equal. A worn turbo car at the low end is not automatically a bargain. It may be a repair invoice with seats. Check cold start smoke, boost behavior, coolant loss, oil leaks, turbo noise, transmission shifts, and service records. Run it fully warm, then listen. A healthy turbo sedan should pull cleanly, idle steady, and stay cool. If it smells hot, smokes, surges, or has random power loss, walk away. Also, check for oil around intercooler hoses and listen for rattles under light throttle. Sellers love saying it just needs a sensor. Maybe, but turbo cars love hiding bigger problems behind small words. One more shop clue matters here. If the oil is dark, the coolant bottle is crusty, and the owner says the turbo always sounded that way, you are not buying speed. You are buying heat history. That is where Malibu money disappears quickly. If you want a cheap Malibu, the turbo is not where I would start. The next Chevy is also a big sedan, but it flips the story because the repair path is much calmer. Number 7. Chevrolet Impala 3.6 V6 2016 to 2019 must buy. Rental lot image scares people away, but the right Impala is a strong, roomy, overlooked highway car. The target is a 2016 to 2019 Impala LT or Premier with the 3.6-liter V6 and 6-speed automatic. Avoid hard-use fleet cars unless the price is low and the inspection is serious. That V6 gives confident passing, smooth merging, and enough power that the car does not feel like punishment. What makes this a must-buy is depreciation. Big sedans got pushed aside when everyone ran toward crossovers, so the Impala gives space, trunk room, quiet highway manners, and solid parts availability for far less than many Toyota Avalons, Lexus ES models, or newer SUVs. Mechanics do not hate these because the repair path is familiar. Brakes, wheel bearings, struts, control arms, sensors, ignition parts, filters, and body pieces are easy to source. General Motors used related parts across many products, and every decent shop has seen enough of this hardware to know where to start. Used prices usually land around $9,000 to $18,000, depending on miles, trim condition, and fleet history. The weak points are not imaginary. Watch for timing chain noise if oil changes were stretched, warm transmission feel, front suspension wear, wheel bearing hum, and evidence of fleet abuse. Start it cold and listen. It should not rattle like a toolbox. Drive it warm and check every shift. It should feel smooth, steady, and predictable. Do a highway run at 70 miles per hour and listen for bearing noise or tire roar. Also, inspect seat wear, steering wheel shine, and idle hours if available, because a clean odometer does not always tell the whole story on former fleet cars. I also like checking the trunk and rear seat area because these cars often live airport, rental, or company car lives. Hard miles show up in worn tires, weak struts, and dirty interior corners. Clean, boring ownership is the difference between value and regret. The Impala looks cheap because big sedans are unfashionable. The badge has no brag factor, and buyers assume every used Chevy sedan was a rental. That assumption creates value when the car has boring records. Do not buy the cheapest one. Buy the one with clean fluids, clean shifts, and no mystery lights. The next Chevy has the look everyone wants, but the V6 version is where buyers need to slow down. If this straight Chevy talk helps you, subscribe. We show reliable years, costly traps, and simple checks before you waste money. Number 6. Chevrolet Camaro V6, 2010 to 2012. To avoid. Muscle car shape can trick your brain, and the early V6 Camaro is where that mistake gets expensive. We are talking about 2010 to 2012 Camaro V6 cars, especially high-mile, modified, abused, or poorly serviced examples. The fifth-generation body looks aggressive, and people want to feel like they found a cheap performance deal. But this is not the V8 story. Base and LT trims used a 3.6-liter V6.6 with the earlier LLT engine in 2010 and 2011, then the updated LFX in 2012. Manual and automatic 6-speed transmissions were available. The issue is not that every V6 Camaro is junk. The issue is that cheap ones are often bought for the image, driven hard, neglected, modified badly, and then sold right before the next owner gets the bill. The early General Motors 3.6 family has enough timing chain reputation that you should take cold start noise, misfire codes, and poor oil history seriously. Camaro tires and insurance also cost more than a normal sedan, even when the engine is the budget version. Used prices can sit around $7,000 to $14,000, depending on trim, mileage, transmission, and condition. That price can tempt younger buyers, but a cheap Camaro with chain noise is not a bargain. It is a loud warning. Inspect timing chain noise, misfire history, oil change records, clutch wear, rear tire abuse, suspension wear, accident repairs, and cheap modifications. Look under the hood for random intakes, wiring, missing covers, and evidence of owners chasing sound instead of maintenance. On the test drive, it should accelerate cleanly, idle smooth, and shift without grinding or flaring. If the seller says the check engine light is nothing, stop listening. A Camaro body can make people forgive problems they would reject on a Malibu. That is how money gets burned. A good V6 Camaro can still be fun, but the cheap ones need more suspicion than excitement. Check the rear tires first. If they are roasted, mismatched, or bald on the inside, the car already told you how it was treated. If you want a Camaro, do not let the shape make you ignore the engine story. The next Chevy is the opposite. Boring, cheap, and only worth buying if the paperwork proves it survived. Number 5. Chevrolet Cruze 1.4 Turbo 2011 to 2015 with proof. Must buy. Cheap commuter temptation gets dangerous when the proof is missing, and the Cruze 1.4 Turbo is exactly that kind of conditional buy. We are looking at 2011 to 2015 Cruze LT or Eco models with the 1.4-liter turbo. This is not a blind recommendation. It is a buy only when the service story is boring, documented, and believable. The 1.4 turbo can be inexpensive transportation if the timing chain service story, cooling repairs, oil change history, and positive crankcase ventilation fixes make sense. But if the records are missing, the coolant smells sweet, the idle is rough, the turbo smokes, or the seller acts vague, move on. The Cruze is cheaper than the Civic or Corolla for a reason. It can be a smart value, but only after it has already survived the weak spots. Known issues include coolant leaks, water outlet failures, thermostat housing trouble, turbo oil line leaks, coil packs, crankcase ventilation problems, and timing chain sensitivity when oil service was lazy. Used prices often run around $4,000 to $9,000. The lower end is tempting, but cheap auction cars can eat the savings fast. Inspect coolant leaks, crankcase ventilation symptoms, turbo smoke, chain noise, oil records, and transmission behavior. Let it idle long enough to warm up, then watch the temperature and smell around the engine bay. Look for crusty coolant near the water outlet and thermostat area. Listen for whistling, rough idle, or odd pressure when you open the oil cap. On the road, it should pull consistently, not surge, stumble, or puff smoke after sitting. If it has proof of recent cooling work, clean oil changes, and calm ownership, then the Cruze can be a cheap little commuter that keeps insurance and fuel costs low. Also, check whether the owner used the right oil and changed it often. Small turbo engines punish lazy oil habits. A cheap Cruze with fresh coolant parts, dry lines, and quiet chain behavior is completely different from a shiny one with excuses. If it only has a low price and excuses, do not buy it. Do not buy the Cruze because it is cheap. Buy it only if the proof is boring. The next Chevy is where cheap SUV shopping gets dangerous because the engine can quietly eat itself. Number 4. Chevrolet Equinox 2.4, 2010 to 2017. To avoid. Family SUV comfort can hide a brutal engine story, and the Equinox 2.4 is one of the clearest avoid picks here. The focus is 2010 to 2017 Equinox models, with the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder and 6-speed automatic. The cabin is practical, the size feels right, and the price can look friendly next to Toyota or Honda crossovers. That is exactly why people get trapped. Here is the part that hurts families. The Equinox feels like the sensible choice, so buyers relax. They do not expect to carry oil in the cargo area or check the dipstick at every gas stop. That false comfort is why this section matters. The problem is not the seats, the cargo room, or the badge. The problem is the 2.4 engine's reputation for excessive oil consumption, timing chain trouble, and expensive failures when owners do not check oil constantly. Special coverage documents describe some 2.4 Equinox and terrain vehicles using less than 2,000 miles per quart because of piston ring wear. That is not normal old car thirst. That is a warning label. Low oil can cause timing chain problems, cam timing codes, catalytic converter stress, and engine damage. Used prices may sit around $5,000 to $12,000 depending on year and mileage. But price alone does not tell you if the engine is already worn out. Inspect oil level, oil consumption history, timing chain rattle, cam timing codes, cold start noise, catalytic converter condition, and service records. Ask how often the owner checks oil. If the answer is a blank stare, you already learned something. Let it idle from cold, then drive it fully warm. Listen for chain noise, watch for smoke, smell the exhaust, check the dipstick before and after. If the seller says it only uses a little oil, that is not comfort. That is the warning. A repaired engine with proof may be different, but most buyers are not equipped to verify the whole story. And if you need a cheap crossover, there are cleaner risks than one known for oil consumption. A safe family vehicle should not require you to babysit the dipstick like a race car. The Equinox looks like safe transportation, but the wrong engine can turn oil into a countdown clock. The next Silverado shows the right way to buy a Chevy truck before the lifter drama takes over. Subscribe if you want smarter Chevy picks without dealership smoke. We compare engines, repairs, prices, and failure patterns before you buy. Number 3. Chevrolet Silverado 5.3, 2008 to 2013, non-active fuel management or proven delete. Must buy. Older truck value starts making sense when the engine story has already been cleaned up. We are talking about 2008 to 2013 Silverado 1,500 trucks with the 5.3-liter V8, but only if you can prove one of 3 things. It never had active fuel management, it was properly deleted with receipts, or the lifter and cam work was already fixed with paperwork. Do not assume. Many 5.3 trucks from this period use cylinder deactivation, so you need engine code proof, build information, service records, and proof of any mechanical delete or proper tuning. Also, make sure whatever was done is legal in your area. Also, ask who performed the delete, if one was done. A sloppy tune or half-finished parts job can create its own problems. You want proof, parts list, receipts, and a truck that passes inspection without drama. When that risk is removed or avoided, the 5.3 can be a strong, useful, familiar truck engine with huge part support. The truck layout is simple. Towing ability is real. The repair community is massive, and shops know these drivetrains well. Price range depends heavily on cab, drivetrain, rust, miles, and modification quality, but $8,000 to $22,000 is a reasonable shopping window. The danger is buying a truck because it sounds good without understanding which version of the story you are buying. Inspect active fuel management status proof, oil pressure, lifter noise, transmission shifts, frame rust, brake lines, four-wheel drive function, and towing history. Start it cold and listen. A healthy small block truck should not tick like a sewing machine under the valve cover. Crawl underneath and check the frame, cab corners, brake lines, cross members, and hitch wear. A good older Silverado is not about shiny paint. It is about the clean frame, honest fluids, and drivetrain history. Compare this to newer full-size trucks with more electronics, more fuel-saving tricks, and bigger loan numbers. A sorted older 5.3 can be a smarter workhorse if the known problem has already been handled properly. The 5.3 can be a great engine, but you have to know which version of the story you are buying. The next truck is smaller, newer, and easier to live with if you do not need full-size towing. Number 2, Chevrolet Colorado 3.6 V6 2015 to 2019 must buy. Mid-size truck math starts working when full-size prices get ridiculous, and the Colorado 3.6 belongs in the Smart Buy column when inspected right. The target is 2015 to 2019. Colorado trucks with the 3.6-liter V6, especially work truck, LT, and Z71 trims with clean service history. Later examples are easier to recommend than rough early launch year trucks because the second-generation Colorado had mixed early reliability and recalls. The V6 made around 308 horsepower in later years, and properly equipped trucks can tow up to 7,600 pounds. That gives real truck utility without the size, parking pain, and price of a full-size Silverado. Used prices commonly sit around $14,000 to $28,000, depending on year, trim, mileage, four-wheel drive, and condition. That is not pocket change, but it can be much easier to justify than full-size truck money. Do not ignore size either. A Colorado can fit garages, tight lots, and daily errands better than a full-size truck. That smaller footprint is the whole advantage. If you never tow heavy, buying bigger is often just ego. Known weak points include transmission shift feel, torque converter shutter complaints, infotainment age, suspension wear, rear differential noise, and truck use abuse. Inspect warm transmission shifts, four-wheel drive engagement, coolant leaks, rear differential noise, tire wear, payload history, and towing use. A Colorado that spent life commuting is different from one that dragged trailers every weekend. Check bed damage, hitch wear, brake condition, and uneven tires. On the test drive, let it warm fully, then feel for shuddering, harsh shifts, or delayed engagement. Try four-wheel drive in a safe place if equipped. The engine should feel smooth, strong, and steady, not rough or lazy. The Colorado works because it gives truck capability without pretending every buyer needs a giant half-ton. If you haul home projects, light trailers, camping gear, bikes, or work tools, it can fit real life without full-size fuel and parking stress. If you want a real truck without full-size truck money, this is where the math starts to work. And now we hit the Silverado section that can turn a dream truck into the most expensive tick you ever hear. Number 1. Chevrolet Silverado 5.3 Active Fuel Management 2014 to 2017 to avoid. Dream trucks hurt the worst when they betray you, and the 2014 to 2017 Silverado 5.3 with active fuel management is the Chevrolet avoid section that makes owners sick. This truck looks like the safe choice. It has the right stance, the right sound, the right towing image, and the 5.3 V68 name that generations of Chevy owners trusted. That is what makes the problem so painful. The Ecotec 3 5.3 made around 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. 6-speed automatics were common, with 8 speeds showing up on some trims later. On paper, it is a modern, comfortable, capable half-ton. Then the lifter tick starts. Active fuel management shuts cylinders off to save fuel. The problem is that the system can be tied to collapsed lifters, stuck lifters, misfires, camshaft damage, oil system work, and huge labor bills. Service bulletin language has described mechanically collapsed or stuck lifters and internal locking pin damage. That is not internet whining. That is the kind of phrase that should make a buyer slow down. The emotional part is simple. The worst part is how normal the truck can look 5 minutes before the bad news. Clean paint, leather seats, big tires, nice screen. None of that tells you what the lifters are doing. Your ears, scan tool, oil records, and cold start tests matter more than shine. Owners do not feel like they bought a risky truck. They bought a Silverado. Then one morning it ticks. Maybe it shakes. Maybe the check engine light comes on. Maybe the scan shows a misfire. Suddenly the quote is not a tune-up. It is lifters, maybe a camshaft, gaskets, oil parts, labor, and sometimes engine replacement talk. Used prices can still run $18,000 to $32,000, depending on cab, miles, trim, four-wheel drive, and condition. That is why this risk hurts. It is not a cheap beater problem. It is a real money truck with a real money failure pattern. Inspect cold start tick, misfire codes, active fuel management disable or delete history, oil pressure behavior, Service records, transmission shifts, and whether lifter and cam work have already been done. Do not accept they all tick a little. No, a tick can be the beginning of a very expensive story. If you must buy one, get a professional inspection. Listen to it stone cold. Scan it. Verify service history. Ask for receipts. Budget like a grown man. Do not let nice wheels, clean seats, and a deep exhaust note distract you from the top end of the engine. Also watch for trucks with cheap electronic disablers sold as miracle cures. Disabling the system electronically is not always the same as mechanically correcting damaged hardware, and it does not erase poor oil history. Some owners handle the system properly. Some dump the truck right after the tick starts. Your job is to know which one is standing in front of you. This truck proves the rule. The badge can be strong, the engine can be loved, and one known system can still ruin the deal. If this saves you money, subscribe. We show reliable years, costly engine traps, and simple checks before you buy the wrong Chevy. Buyer rule, close. Chevrolet buying is not about loving Chevy or hating Chevy. It is about knowing the failure pattern before the seller tells the story. Avoid the 2.4 Equinox unless repaired with proof, and oil consumption is verified clean. Avoid the active fuel management Silverado if the lifter history is unknown. Avoid V6 Camaros with timing chain noise, misfires, abuse, or cheap modifications. Avoid Malibu 2.0 turbo cars with boost, cooling, smoke, or turbo problems. Buy the Impala 3.6 when shifts are clean and records are boring. Buy the older Silverado 5.3 only when active fuel management risk is verified, deleted correctly, or not present. Buy the Colorado 3.6 when transmission behavior and truck use history check out. Buy the Cruise 1.4 only if the service proof is stronger than the price temptation. The cheapest Chevy is not the one with the lowest price. It is the one with the cleanest engine story. A cheap listing can turn expensive fast when the known failure pattern is already knocking. A higher-priced example with proof, clean fluids, and boring ownership can be the smarter buy. Ask for records, scan for codes, listen cold, drive warm, and inspect underneath. If the seller rushes you, walk. A good Chevy does not need a sales speech to make sense. It needs a clean story. Here is the final garage rule. If the failure pattern has a nickname, a forum full of horror stories, and sellers keep explaining it away, do not be the next victim. Buy the boring example with proof, not the shiny example with promises. The right Chevy feels calm on paper, cold start, test drive, and inspection. Anything else is gambling with repair money again. Click the video on your screen next. We'll show Chevy years that look cheaper but become painful fast. Subscribe for reliable picks and smarter buying.